Oh, that wasn't very good. The Springfield Board of Mayor and Aldermen meeting is called to order for February. Please stand and we'll say the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I want to welcome everyone to our meeting tonight. First on our agenda, before we get started, I want to recognize Alderman Lisa Arnold, Ward 5. She is filling in for Mr. Bruce Head, who did a wonderful job, and we want to welcome Ms. Lisa Arnold. I also want to announce, if you haven't read it yet on Facebook, I want to congratulate our new fire chief, Jeff Glodowski. Jeff? Amen. Congratulations. I know you'll do a wonderful job.
Speech.
We'll save that for after the meeting. Also want to announce that Mr. James Cantrell, a longtime employee of 53 years for the city of Springfield, has passed away, and his funeral will be on Saturday at St. James. Please keep his family in your prayers. He was such a wonderful fixture in this building. If you never got to hear him sing, I'm so sorry for you, because he was such a wonderful man, and he will be missed. I will now call on Brother Joe Rushing to do our invocation. Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here. Our Father, we're so thankful to you. We believe that you rule in the affairs of men and that you're concerned about every citizen, every person, Father, that you've created. We're thankful, Father, for people who give their time so unselfishly to lead our government. And so, Father, we're thankful for all those that make up the city of Springfield, its leadership team, and for those that are elected by the people. And we just pray your blessing upon them as they work together for the betterment of us all. Our Father, we pray you'll grant them wisdom in their decisions. We pray, Father, that they will learn how to disagree agreeably with each other and can work together, Father, again, for the good of us all. Father, there's so much talent in this room, so many gifts that you've given to each one. And we just pray, Father, your blessing upon them. We pray you'll give them the health that they need in order to continue to serve. Father, help us as citizens of this community to do what we can to offer our aid, to live lives before them that are quiet and are peaceable, to be law-abiding citizens, and to try to give back to our community, that Springfield and Robertson County might be the place that everyone would like to come to raise and to rear their families. Continue, Father, to watch over us. Bless this meeting and everything that is done this night. We ask all these things, Father. I ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Brother Joe, we thank you for what you do for our community, whether it's at hanging out at North Crest and being a chaplain or all the other things that we call on you to do in this community. You're a fixture, and we thank you for everything.
Mayor.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Announce.
Go ahead.
Yes, I would like to announce the passing of Kenny Ray Gardner, a former Springfield High School football standout, Tennessee State star, and a community activist. I think he played along with Brother Beers there. So let's pray for the Kenny Gardner family, please. Thank you.
Thank you. 1.3, the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen held on January 21st, 2020. Are there any corrections? We doing it on here? It's a voice vote. A voice vote. We're still doing voice. Okay. Okay. Motion made by Mr. Harris, seconded by Mr. Trotter. Any corrections? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Thank you. 1.4 is our public hearing. Our first.
He set it up wrong. Sorry.
Okay.
Roll call set it up. You need to vote.
Okay, it's fine, it's fine. We're doing a little different tonight. You have to vote by. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 1.4, our public hearing.
Point of order.
Sir.
What was the tally?
7-0, sorry.
Thank you. Our first public hearing tonight is ordinance 20-01, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2020's annual budget of the city of Springfield by amending certain general fund operating budgets. If there's anyone that would like to speak, please come to the podium, state your name, and you have 2 minutes. If there's no one that would like to speak, the public hearing is closed. Our second public hearing is ordinance 20-02, an ordinance rezoning one parcel located in the 9th Civil District on Bradley Drive from MRO, Multiple Residential and Office District, to RI, Restrictive Industrial District. If you would like to speak, please come to the podium. If there's no one that would like to speak, the public hearing is closed. 2.1, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 20-01 on a second reading, or ordinance amending the fiscal year 2020 annual budget for the city of Springfield by amending certain general fund operating budgets. Do we have a motion and a second? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, seconded by Alderman Trotter. Discussion and questions on our second reading. No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.2, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 20-02 on a second reading. A ordinance rezoning one parcel located in the 9th Civil District on Bradley Drive from MRO, Multiple Residential and Office Districts, to RI, Restrictive Industrial Districts. Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, seconded by Alderman Gregg. Questions? No discussion? Ready for the vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.3, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 20-03 on a first reading. A ordinance rezoning one parcel located in the 9th Civil District on R.W. Gordon Drive from R15 Medium Density Residential District to MRO Multiple Residential and Office District. Do we have a motion and a second? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, seconded by Alderman Gregg. Will you please read this, Ms. Brickles?
Ordinance 20-03, an ordinance rezoning one parcel located in the 9th Civil District on R.W. Gordon Drive from R15 Medium Density Residential District to MRO Multiple Residential and Office District. Whereas an application for rezoning was presented to the Springfield Planning Commission by Saul and Isabel Martinez requesting one parcel, approximately 4.96 acres, located on R.W. Gordon Drive, be rezoned from R15 Medium Density Residential District to MRO Multiple Residential and Office District. Whereas the City of Springfield Planning Commission has reviewed the application and voted with a favorable recommendation for this parcel to be rezoned. Now therefore it be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee as follows. One parcel totaling approximately 4.96 acres owned by Saul and Isabel Martinez located on R.W. Gordon Drive, tax map ADP, Group A, Parcel 7 of the tax maps of Robertson County, Tennessee, and being more fully described by Exhibit A attached, is hereby rezoned from R15 Medium Density Residential District to MRO Multiple Residential and Office District. This rezoning shall become effective following its third and final passage as required by law.
Thank you. Discussion. Yes, sir.
Where's it actually located?
It's
Holt?
just past the gas
Is that where
department.
the church is at?
Is it where it is? Okay.
Okay, so I was thinking.
Do we know what they're planning for this area?
Mr. Brewer?
They have a preliminary proposal of approximately 41 residential units, and they're going to add to the existing church and have offices and an event space there.
Apartments?
There'll be apartments. I mean, I don't know if there'll be rentals or they'll be for sale. They haven't presented anything other than they've asked to rezone it to MRO. They've proposed 41. The property itself in MRO would handle about 72, but there's, in the southern portion of the property, there is a large easement that the city of Springfield has for stormwater. So it'll all be on the northern portion of the property closest to the gas department's building.
That's enough room for 71 apartments?
Yes, sir. There's 4.96 acres. You work that out to square footage, and then you divide it by 3,000 per unit, and that'll come to 72.
Okay, other questions? No other questions? Thank you, Mr. Brewer. Discussion? No more discussion? We're ready for a vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-1.
Thank you. 2.4, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 20-04 on a first reading. An ordinance to amend Title II, Chapter 5, Section 2-505 of the Springfield Municipal Code related to the qualifications of the members of the Springfield-Robertson County Joint Airport Board. Do we have a motion and a second to discuss? Motion made by Vice Mayor Harris, seconded by Alderman Hubbard. This is a first reading. Ms. Brickles?
Ordinance 20-04, an ordinance amending Title II, Chapter 5 of the Springfield Municipal Code by amending Section 2-505 entitled Qualifications of Members of the Board as set forth in Exhibit A attached. Whereas the City of Springfield and Robertson County jointly own and operate the Springfield-Robertson County Airport pursuant to Tennessee Code Annotated 42-5-201 et sec, and whereas Resolution 90-39A established a joint board to oversee the operation of the airport and the qualifications for eligibility to serve on the joint board. And whereas Ordinance 05-12 replaced Resolution 90-39A by increasing the number of appointments. And whereas the Springfield-Robertson County Joint Airport Board has voted to recommend a modification in the qualifications for eligibility due to the change in operational management of the airport and the difficulty in finding qualified board members. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of the City of Springfield, Tennessee as follows. Title II of the Springfield Municipal Code is hereby amended by amending Chapter 5, Section 2-505 entitled Qualifications of Members of the Board to read as set forth in Exhibit A attached. All ordinances, resolutions, and policies in conflict herewith shall be rescinded to the extent of the conflict only.
Thank you. Okay. Discussion, questions? Yes, sir, Mr. Harris?
The county acted on this?
They act on it at their next meeting next Monday night. They would have last night, but it was a holiday. But
This is all that's being changed, is just the qualification.
It's removing the words "and knowledge of and practical experience in aeronautics," because as this board knows, we've had some difficulty trying to find people in the city limits with aeronautic experience. So this removes that, and the language for the county is relatively the same. So it's removing that qualification or that experience.
But it will be removed from both
Both.
entities if passed.
Right.
It won't be final until both of us pass it.
Would there be some type of bylaw that would say that at least one person has to have that knowledge?
No.
If that's a flaw.
That was discussed, and that won't be part of it, but there is a professional managing the airport now.
Got it. Okay.
And that's
Understood.
really why, even though some of the board members that we have now, well, all of them have the experience.
Understood.
But going forward, it wouldn't be required.
Right.
Alderman Sneed?
Point of order, Ms. Holt, all of the board members out there do not have flying experience. One individual has a fuel service. He's a plumber.
Well, aeronautic
Okay,
experience.
well, he plumbs fuel stations. There's other people on the board who have been there that were not licensed pilots. This is, it does not, the red words here that you're trying to strict, it does not say that you have to have a pilot license.
No, it doesn't.
It just says that you had to have some aeronautical experience. I would disagree that we've had a problem with finding people with aeronautic experience. It's just you didn't want certain people when they applied. And the last time that I was nominated to be on this board, and I have been a member of this board in the past, filling a vacancy, but the last time this board was up in arms against my reappointment because I didn't have a pilot license. So if you approve this, after some of the same people on this board voted to not approve someone because they didn't have a pilot license, that would show some hypocrisy.
Okay.
Now, what the county does has nothing to do with what we do. They can pick their own people, and we can pick our own people. If it has no bearing, what the county does has no bearing on what we do.
Okay. I'll
And-
point out that Ms. Holt does not have a vote.
That's what?
Ms. Holt does not have a vote.
Right, that's right. But she's at the table, she can speak and influence, and I go to these meetings. I was at the meeting when this was presented.
Okay.
And I don't know who they have in mind that they want to present to the city or the county that do not have a pilot license, but there's usually a reason why they're wanting to do this, because they got someone in mind they want to do it. A few months back at a meeting, they wanted to, in addition to this, they wanted us to change our bylaws. It was suggested, but it wasn't voted on, but it was suggested that we change the bylaws, the city and county, to allow people from outside the state. But it didn't pass. That was quickly said, well, no, I don't think they're going to approve that. So, but that's what they wanted,
Okay.
some of them.
Have any more questions?
I don't have any questions, but I'm making comments on my knowledge of the situation in past history, and I see no reason in changing the city's ordinance for the airport board to not have people with aeronautic experience or knowledge.
Ms. Holt?
I was just going to say that the city does not have an appointment come up again until December of '22. So December 31st of 2022, unless someone steps down.
Okay. Mr. Hubbard?
You know, I know you don't want us to enter into a prolonged debate, but when some statements are made about hypocrisy, because you stated it was not against you having license.
Can we just address the
It was
change
so-
order,
no,
not
it was
me?
a conflict.
Mayor,
with
can
being
we
on
address
board,
the
period.
issue and not personal attacks?
No, it's not personal attack.
Yes, it is.
But
It's
get
le-
the statements right.
Okay, gentlemen. All right. We'll move on. Any other questions? Yes.
Sorry, one point of clarification, Gina, just going back to what you had mentioned to me. The reason why this is happening, because there is now a management system that obviously has this experience, which is why the board members no longer need it. Is that correct?
Well, this was brought about truthfully, and this board has discussed it in the past, because it's been difficult to find someone in the city limits with the experience spelled out the way it is now. But I think the airport board felt that because of the change with professional management, that it would be okay, and that's why the airport board recommended this. Now, at that time, I'll say I don't have a vote, but at the time, at the airport board, I made the comment that I thought that there should be some that have the qualifications for aeronautics experience, because what happens if you end up with the whole board without it? But the airport board made the recommendation to take that out, and it comes to the city and it comes to the county.
Yes, sir.
This is the term that they're wanting to take out, though, the knowledge of and practical experience in aeronautics. Does that phrase require that it be a pilot's license?
No, it does not. It has not been a pilot's license.
Okay. Other questions?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
To
Mr.
follow
Steve?
up with Mr. Harris, that was precisely what this board said. The reason they didn't want my reappointment was because of a pilot license. Even though I've flown, have taken pilot license, I've just never completed the course. But y'all are all against anyone on the board, not just me, y'all stated anyone without a pilot license. It's always been the prerequisite.
Okay. Other questions? Ready for a vote?
Take a fifth on that.
Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 5-2.
Thank you. 2.5, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 20-09, a resolution accepting the streets and the right-of-way improvements in Phase 3, Section 6 of Oakland Farm subdivision. Daniel Bernstein Vanez, owner, and accepting a maintenance bond for said streets and infrastructure in the right-of-way and the easements of said subdivision. We have a motion made by Vice Mayor Harris and a second by Alderman Gregg. Questions? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.6, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 20-10, a resolution authorizing the execution of 2 lease purchase agreements with PNC Equipment Finance, LLC. We need a motion and a second to discuss. Motion made by Alderman Hubbard and a second by Alderman Trotter. Questions?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, sir, Mr. Steen.
I move to amend the motion.
Amend the motion, okay?
There's 2 leases involved.
2 leases.
I'd like to delete the lease for the $16,000 food cart.
$16,000 food cart, delete. Okay. There's a motion on the floor to amend. Did we do
He
this
needs
by?
to- Hit your amend button, please. Needs a second.
Do we have a second on the amendment? Is there a second? No second. It dies for lack of a second. Back to the main motion.
Mayor,
Sir.
can somebody please explain to me why we're buying a $16,000 food cart when we have a fully staffed kitchen?
Ms. Holt?
The food and beverage cart is what goes out to the players, and it covers the golf course. And so,
Do the carts themselves have a area in the back or somewhere where most of the people who arrive bring their coolers or any snacks that they want?
We're not
they
allowed.
all they have room, but I don't think they allow, the ones that play out there, I don't know
We
that you're
can't take
allowed to
coolers.
bring.
Yeah, you can't.
Can't take
Okay.
Can't take it.
But we have water fountains throughout the course.
This is to sell the beverages and the snacks, sandwiches.
Okay, and what is the return on investment? We're going by at what point how many drinks do you think or propose that we're going to sell to recover a $16,000 cart to drive around drinks on the course?
In my opinion, since I play golf, I will answer that. If you go to any golf course that's listed in the top 100 golf courses in Tennessee, which we're number 2, and there's not a cart coming around to sell me some water, or there's not a cart coming around to sell me something, they're not gonna be in the top 10.
Is this going to require an additional personnel, or are they going to pull someone from the kitchen?
There's always someone that works the golf cart.
So this is not an additional job?
No.
They're going to work within the current employees?
They are, and usually if you have a couple of large tournaments, there's enough food and beverage, beer, whatever sold that
Right.
it doesn't take a whole
Okay.
lot.
So
You can't have tournaments without it.
are the kitchen and utility facilities at our parks, like are our staff, are our kitchens and things at our parks staffed well
Oh.
enough that I'm just comparing.
I didn't realize
You're
We
wanting-
that.
didn't know the chat was here, I'm sorry.
Okay, hold on. I don't need to be answering these
Next
questions. And I have to admit, I hadn't got to play golf in a while.
I was
but
looking
Chet is-
for you, and
Chet
I couldn't
Fraser-
find you.
Mayor, I got a question.
Hold on.
I got a question for the Parks Director.
Hold on. Chet Fraser's coming to the podium.
I've
He-
got a question for the Parks
Hold
Director.
on just a second. He is with the Legacy Golf Course, and he will be able to answer all the questions, and I may have not answered them correctly. I just know that from being in tournaments and playing golf. Yes, sir, you may ask.
Okay.
Parks.
Terry, are the facilities at our parks that serve concessions, are they at a level or standard that you are satisfied with for us to be making an expenditure for a mobile cart at the golf course? Because if we're going to be spending, I'd like to know what our current facilities are like.
I think that's two separate issues.
Thank you.
It doesn't come under the parks.
Right,
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
understand.
We contract, our concessionaires contract for that.
Okay, but our facilities, we're buying facilities.
Okay, let's,
A mobile facility, are the facilities that we have at our park satisfactory, or do you think that they need any renovations before we spend $16,000? For new stuff, does our existing facilities
Okay.
need anything?
let me stop right here.
I've got a question.
Okay,
Mayor.
I
I've
understand.
got the floor, and I've asked a question, I'd like an answer.
Okay, Parks and Recreation does not have anything to do with the golf course. And I want you to understand before he answers, that we have always had this service at the golf course. This is not something new. I assume we're updating. Mr. Martin, you can answer the question.
Our facilities are.
Okay. All right, just want to make sure that.
Sure,
Okay.
I understand. Would you like to elaborate on what I tried to answer?
Well, the dedicated food and beverage card is something that we've had a modified version of in the past. We do run it all weekends throughout the season, any tournaments. At times, we will take a maintenance cart to have a secondary beverage cart when we have big tournaments. This will be a dedicated food and beverage cart that will not only hold the beverages with the coolers, it'll also hold the snacks, the accessories to go with that, napkins, ice, cups. It'll be set up for food and beverage service. It's something that is standard at pretty much all golf courses. If for some reason we don't have one running, we certainly hear it from our customer base. It is a relatively expensive piece of equipment when you're looking at a cart. The food and beverage setup adds to the price of the cart
Okay.
fairly significantly.
And,
One other question.
yes, sir.
Just
Mr.
like,
C?
just like the way the city and the way we build buildings, we build a building, and then later we come along and say, well, we need to put light fixtures in the building, or we need to buy furniture for the building. Is this all current turnkey, or is there other things that will have to be purchased
No,
to outfit this machine?
This is turnkey.
Okay.
And was I correct that we do not allow coolers?
Right. Do
Okay.
not allow personal coolers. No personal outside food and beverage.
Okay. Any other questions while he's at the podium? Mr. Hubbard?
I have watched this ever since the inception of the legacy. We have wanted to get to the status where we are now. Now we're in the big leagues, and so we have to furnish, understand me, and be acceptable as a big league legacy course. So you're doing a great job, and you got my vote to get the card.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Other comments?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
I think the discussion's been good. A lot of people are gonna wonder why we spent this, and those are, I think, are valid questions for anyone who may question why we're doing that.
It's always good to have questions. Yes, sir. Other discussion?
Call for the question, call for the vote.
All right. We're ready to vote? Would anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.7, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 20-11, a resolution authorizing the City of Springfield Water Wastewater Department to apply for a community block grant for a sewer system improvement project. Do we have a motion? Motion made by Vice Mayor Harris and seconded by Alderman Gregg. Questions? Any questions? I know we all hope we get the block grant. Okay?
Mayor,
No questions? Yes,
Yes.
Mr. Sneed?
there's no dollar figure in my agenda about what we're asking for and what are, there's usually a matching, so what is the match?
This is 600,000 that's in the resolution, and there's no, well, the cost will be obviously a lot more than that. There's no
It
match.
does say that?
Yes, it
I
says that.
missed it, okay.
And hopefully it's $630,000, but there's no match. It just goes towards all the money that we will be spending.
Okay.
And last month, you approved the admin and engineering firms, and then we had to bring this
Okay.
in case it's awarded.
Good question. Other discussion? Ready for a vote? Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.8, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 20-12, a resolution declaring certain property surplus and authorizing the disposal of such properties. Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, seconded by Alderman Trotter. Any questions? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote?
Mr. Sneed needs to vote.
Oh, Mr. Sneed. Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.1, discuss and possible take action on the adjustment of the retail electric rates of the Springfield Electric Department due to a wholesale fuel cost adjustment by the Tennessee Valley Authority. Do we have a motion and a second? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, seconded by Alderman Gregg. Mr. Gardner.
Mayor, we have a very slight decrease of 0.11% this month.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Ready for a vote? Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.2, discuss and possible take action on the adjustment of the monthly gas rates of the Springfield Gas Department. Motion? Motion made by Alderman Trotter, seconded by Alderman Gregg. Mr. Dean Scott, I hope you have good news.
We do. It's down 6.33%.
We'll invite you back next month.
There you go.
Discussion? Questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record.
Motion passes 7-0.
3.3, discuss and possible take action to approve offers on the surplus property acquired by the, via the delinquent tax sales. Need a motion and a second. Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, seconded by Vice Mayor Harris. Questions? Ladies and gentlemen. No questions? Ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-1. Alderman Sneed abstain.
Okay. 3.4, discuss and possible take action to approve the final two easements of Phase 2C of the AOC sewer project. We need a motion and a second. Motion made by Alderman Gregg and seconded by Alderman Hubbard. Questions on the final two easements? Sweet words. Sweet, sweet words. No discussion or questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.5, discuss and possible take action on engineering design and bid services for converting to an alternate disinfection method at the water plant. Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, seconded by Vice Mayor Harris. Discussions and questions?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, sir, Mr. Sneed.
As it was written in our agenda, that this, a substitute was requested a few years ago by Mr. Beer's predecessor. It was presented to us because of, it was mentioned that there had been some accidents, but when I asked for the reports or OSHA reports for that, they were non-existent. So no accidents were ever proven to back up the case for a change. The method of chlorine is the most effective for, and Mr. Beers, you can, if I say this wrong, you can interrupt, but chlorine is the most effective for a large variety of the things that we're trying to take out of the water. When this was refused a few years ago, it wasn't bleach, it was for UV ray, or I think it was UV ray is what he was doing. He was wanting to go to bleach. I thought he was wanting to do the same thing as the Logan Todd. It was the same thing they did, but they had the light, the UV light. They're using bleach?
They use bleach.
Okay.
I think it was primarily because of the cost.
Right. From that meeting a few years ago, my looking into it, chlorine kills the most, and it's the is it the least corrosive on the pipes, or what is the corrosion variation between chlorine and versus bleach in our water system?
Mr. Beers, come on to the mic. I think we're going to have several questions.
Well, they're both chlorine, Mr. Sneed, you're correct. I mean, gaseous chlorine is probably the most effective, but sodium hypochlorite or bleach is just as effective. The concentration level is what differs there. And the main thing I'm pushing for you tonight is to change to this is because of the danger issue. We're probably, I think there's 2 left in the mid-state area that haven't gone away from the dangers of using gaseous chlorine just because it is so risky. We've had a little small incident out there, but I'm really worried about seeing individuals out there at night by himself, and we try to avoid that. But if he has to change a concrete, one of these cylinders, if you've seen the size of it, the danger is astronomical. Okay. What could happen to that individual?
But we have protocols for ventilation.
Yes.
We have sensors
They go
there.
through safety training, all that would go away, all that.
I'm not trying to get into a security issue, but what would happen if there was an incident with one person there in the room downstairs where this is happening?
If he's changing that, then we would find him there when we got there the next day.
But there's,
if he didn't get out of there, he didn't have,
just like any chemist in a lab or scientist in a lab, you're trained, and there's PPE that they have to wear.
Correct.
Is there a breathing apparatus?
Yes.
Okay, so what if he's got breathing apparatus while he's in this room, short of?
Well, that doesn't prevent a leak or spill or anything, just not just this individual. I'm talking about on site. That's the reason a lot of these different plants have gone away from that, just because of the dangers of a chlorine. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Chlorine's still the cheapest. We're going to have we're already, I was at a restaurant this morning, and people are complaining that their water and sewer bills are higher than their electric bills. And this is not going to help that situation. And
well, I think in your packet, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I called out that in March of this year, we're going to go to Logan Todd.
Right.
It's going to cut our reduction to about half, essentially. By doing that, they're going to be able to augment that cost of what we spend for additional, and it'll make it much more attractive as far as financially to go to that after we reduce our flow. Chemicals will come down, electrical usage will come down, and it kind of makes it offset much more attractive than it was in 2017.
I don't see that. Are you planning on proposing a water rate decrease?
That's in part of our study on.
We
what
have
would
one
be our
more
MTAS study.
year on the rate study, and we're going with what they recommended at that time.
I don't
which
have
is,
Well, the
think it's
last time I
5%.
remember, it was, everything's increasing. I've never heard anything about a decrease in water and sewer rates.
Oh, no.
I wasn't speaking
Because-
decreasing the rates. I was saying it's going to be decreasing the
Well,
cost
you-
of what would cost us to operate that plant.
Well, the people who are watching, for their viewing benefit, the water that we're purchasing from Todd Logan is more expensive than what we produce per 1,000 gallons.
Essentially, Ms. Holt, you want to touch on that a little
Well,
bit? I thought it was, we haven't set on the defined
We
rate.
haven't set the rate yet, but it's probably going to be about 343, 333, somewhere in that.
So
I don't have the exact
it's
numbers.
more
with me,
expensive. It's more expensive than what we produce. And then we're wanting to change to a solid, this will be a solid
It's be a
chlorine
liquid,
instead of a
a
gas.
liquid.
A liquid.
Yeah, that's what, well, it's chlorine in a liquid state instead of a gaseous state.
Okay?
Can I ask?
Yes, Ms. Arnold?
So essentially what you're saying is at this cost, we are drastically decreasing the potential harm to someone working
Yes,
there.
yes,
And
definitely.
so potentially saving a human life if something were to go wrong.
As I mentioned, I think there's only a couple in the mid-state area that haven't gone away
That
from
haven't
that
done this.
and have gone to sodium hypochlorite. They've gone away from it completely, just because of the dangers, not just it's just something you want to do away with. And the hazards are just unreal compared to using just a liquid bleach or it's chlorine in a liquid state.
And then I know that one of the major issues that we face all the time is finding qualified workers. Is this something that you think would help us recruit more qualified workers because they're in a more safe environment?
I think it'd be attractive to me if I didn't have to work around something, a chemical that's pretty dangerous to handle, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Other questions? Yes, Mr. Hubbard, and then we'll go to Mr. Trotter.
I applaud you for being proactive,
Okay.
because this was discussed when we went to that water training
Yes.
meeting. Quote, everybody's getting away from because of the danger. And as you said, a life is worth more than trying to save a penny. So thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Other questions?
Like I said, we're just catching up with the times.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir, Mr. Snee?
Is this going to eliminate any workplace hazards? Are we saying this is the only hazardous environment that any of our employees engage in?
I'm sure we're not saying that.
No, we're not
Okay.
saying that at all.
Okay, so are we going to start here and start eliminating people from going in manholes or operating equipment? I mean, where do you?
Well, if there's another method to work on any sewer or water issues where you don't have to use a manhole, then I'm sure we would gravitate to that.
Yeah, and this is just about this particular issue. Ms. Arnold? Hold on just a second. Ms. Arnold had a question.
I was going to say, I think if they present themselves to us, we would want to
Absolutely.
look that over.
Right.
That's not on the
Absolutely.
agenda tonight, though.
And I think that's what Mr. Sneed was getting at, that we,
We should be reviewing.
What's that?
Yeah,
safety of all of our employees.
absolutely.
Mr. Hubbard?
No, I'm just gonna just be plain with it, it's so time to be facetious. Yes, I'm sure all of our managers will come up with improving ways to keep down injuries and stuff, okay? So we're not gonna play around with this like it's some joke.
Okay.
This has to happen, and we're gonna be proactive. And so all those cynical questions and comments are
Okay.
not necessary.
All right.
Mayor,
Mr. Sneed?
I'm familiar with the water plant. I've been in the room what we're talking about. I'm familiar with the protocols. I handle chlorine myself in my work,
Yes, sir.
and my work is not planning on,
Call for
Okay.
vote.
All right.
that.
Ready for a vote?
Now, Mayor,
Sir?
we can't just stop debate. If I'm talking and I haven't yielded the floor, you can't just have someone call vote. We've been through this before, please.
Point of order. If the debate is cynical and non-productive,
Okay,
yes, we do
gentlemen.
have a right. No, let me finish. We do have a right to stop the debate. And this is what's happening right now.
Point of order.
Sir?
Can the city attorney address this again?
Absolutely. Our city attorney, Ms. Christy Barty.
In order to cease debate, there has to be a motion made to stop the debate, a second, and a vote taken.
Okay. Mr. Sneed?
I yield the floor.
Okay. Any more questions, discussion? No further discussion? We're ready for a vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-1.
Thank you. 3.6, discuss and possible take action to renew the 1 year on the retail recruitment contract with the retail coach. Do we have a motion? Motion made by Vice Mayor Harris, seconded by Alderman Gregg. Ready for discussion. Questions? I almost said gentleman and lady. Yes, sir, Mr. Sneed.
It was in our agenda that the lady from the company's here today.
Yes, she is.
I have a copy of the agreement right here, and it says.
She's ready to come up and answer questions
It
if you'd
says
like.
Article 1 terms. I'm looking at the terms, and there's no expiration date. Can you point out where the expiration date is in the terms?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do is we do 1 year from the date that the contract.
Where does it say that?
Well, this is a lot of pages, and I would have to look through, but I would be happy to read through it. It may take a few minutes. Do you have a few minutes?
Our current one is the same thing. This board in the past has said that they didn't like multi-year contracts for some things, like retail. So we have currently in a current 1 year contract.
Well, I know what you're saying, but you're asking us to approve a contract. I've read the contract. It does not say that.
I apologize. It is for 1 year, and I can make sure that we adjust it accordingly. If you'll give me a few minutes to read
No?
through it.
Okay.
I certainly will not be signing anything on behalf of the city
Until you make the adjustment.
until
Well, it
whatever
says
this vote is.
until completion of services, and I think the layout is usually the services are completed in 1 year.
I think it needs to be deferred, since it's not.
It's just like the one we signed last year.
No, it's different.
Different. Okay.
Yeah.
And I can speak to that, but you are correct. Well, I have not read through it, but I'm assuming that you have done your research and due diligence. But this is an extension, and in last year's contract, I do believe that it was clearly stated that it is up for annual extensions on 1 year terms.
Okay.
And so I believe that this would then be an addendum to last year's contract and an extension of.
Our city attorney, would you like to comment on that?
Well, I'll say, before you say that, our current one says over a period of 12 months.
Okay.
Unless sooner terminated, and the renewal is not that specific.
Well, when I read a contract and I look at Article 1 under terms, that is the terms, and it does not say that. Regardless of where it may be, you may find it somewhere else, but it's not on any of these pages,
Okay.
in any of the articles, or any of the sub-paragraphs.
And I
All
would.
right.
And
Hold
this
on.
board can add that. This board can just insert that, and we can go with the
Absolutely.
contract.
We need to do an amendment.
Yes.
Mayor, one
Yes, sir.
other question for,
Yes.
Yeah, Caroline.
She's gonna
Caroline.
stay in the mic.
I was skeptical of your services when you approached us a year ago, because we'd had a similar service under a different name, and it was for 3 years. We didn't couldn't really credit the previous, your predecessor did the same thing. We couldn't really credit them for
Any growth?
any growth that wasn't company initiated by the companies. Now, we paid you $35,000 plus some expenses last year. You're asking for another $30,000. Why should I vote to continue this? Because I haven't seen
Yeah.
any results from
Good
the
question.
past year.
And I commend you for your due diligence. So our system takes some time. We promised you when we came before you a year ago that we would recruit retailers and we would recruit developers. We gave you a list. I can't remember how many we put in front of you as potentials that we would like to discuss with the mayor and the city manager and break down from there. I counted before the meeting today, and we had between 20 and 30 retailers that were agreed upon that we would aggressively recruit. some of those retailers were what we call big box tenants. Old Navy, Hobby Lobby, off the top of my head. If I remember, someone in here didn't want them because of their wife's pocketbook. But
We won't call any names, but he
maybe-
sits on the end over here.
yeah, maybe Joann's, Michael's, some things like that. Those big box tenants, we have aggressively targeted, recruited, and begun conversations with. However, those big box tenants need developers to build for them. So that the development piece goes hand in hand with the retail piece. Because of that, we've also been working with developers. We do have some developers interested, and we do have some developers that have started some things. One such development does have an LOI, which is a letter of intent, to our understanding, not from a big box retailer, so you can save your pocketbook, but from a retailer that I do believe, if everything goes through, that everyone in this room would be very excited about. Just in the last couple of weeks, we had another casual sit-down restaurant speak with that developer and very interested in putting a letter of intent on that site. The developer had to come back to that sit-down restaurant and tell them they couldn't come into the development because of restrictions of the other letter of intent. And so these things take some time. We have had some very, very positive conversations, and to be perfectly honest, we've had some no's from some retailers, and those no's point us in the next direction. Today, I spent all of my day, because I flew in this morning and I got to Springfield about 8:30 this morning or 9, but I had lunch at O'Charlie's, which I know that they're closing. It's the first time I've eaten at an O'Charlie's in a long time, but I just sat and I watched the traffic flow and I worked on my computer. And while I was sitting there, I emailed a few different casual sit-down restaurants that were not on our original list of targets, but I think would do well based on our experience of working with retailers at that location. So our last year of work was to get some retailers interested and linked up with developers. We have done that, and that job is done, and we are waiting to see what's going to happen with those and for that to follow through. A developer breaking ground, you're not going to see in 12 months because of financing, letter of intent, all the pieces must fall into place. But I assure you that we're working on those. If we continue our relationship with Springfield, my immediate focus is going to be filling Rite Aid, Applebee's, and O'Charlie's. I think that's going to be huge to this community, to this market.
Well, and I will break in right there, because we've had a lot of questions in the room about O'Charlie's. This is the first that any of us have heard about that. And I hear it from the aldermen sitting up here buzzing with questions.
Okay. What are
about O'Charlie's.
They're closing?
That is what we have heard. I have not confirmed that with O'Charlie's corporate, but that is what we have heard. However, sitting there today, there was a lot of traffic. They did well. They did very well. And so I have not confirmed that with corporate, but in the chance that they are, we are going ahead and lining up retailers that are interested, so that if they were, then maybe that space wouldn't stay.
There was an article on the internet that they are going to be closing several, they didn't say what area.
Okay.
Right, yeah,
That's what I thought, something, but I.
Okay.
All right,
They did not
thanks.
say which
Yeah,
area.
they are closing a lot across the nation. The same thing happened with Rite Aid, and you guys,
Right.
lost your Rite Aid. Closings happen. They get bought out, they go through bankruptcy, different things happen. And so our job is to try to fill those, and we certainly try to be proactive. If we hear that there may be closings and they're in a community where we're working. And so that's one thing that we're doing. So I know that was a very long-winded answer. I hope that it answered your question, but to just close that up a little bit more quickly, we can't get a retailer to agree on day one and then 365 days later have a door open.
Understand. But this is 4 years that, as I have a fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers of the city.
I understand.
And we've had this service for 4 years, and I've seen.
we've had this
You've
service
had my
for 1 year.
services for 1 year,
I've seen,
but I do understand what you're
We've paid
saying.
for this service.
I understand.
For 4 years, and I've seen no gainful return on that investment. And there's only so many food dollars that are going to be spent, and there's only so many clothing dollars that's going to be spent. And likewise,
Right. Once those things do happen, I think that you will see a huge impact on your local economy. I had another point. Oh, if I may speak to a point that you had about having representation for 4 years, it's my understanding that you were with another company, and you were a bit dissatisfied in part by the representation and reporting in time that other company maybe spent with you guys and reported to the city. And I do think that we have been in Springfield a number of times. We've met with stakeholders, we've met with potential franchisees, we have met with developers, we have driven around with developers. We called the city manager's office a week or two ago and said that we had a potential franchisee of a casual sit-down restaurant who wanted to meet with the mayor. And then we all kind of joked like, well, what's the mayor going to, but if that makes them happy to have their hand hold, they'll meet and they'll eat lunch, But anyway, we have been here, we have been boots on the ground. We have had conference representation. I have a list of conferences that we've attended on your behalf, and let's see here. Next week, excuse me, let me back up. Austin Farmer, who also works on this project with me, is in Phoenix at a conference as we speak. Next week, we will be, I think it's next week, at a conference in DC. And then at the end of March, I and some other colleagues will be at a conference in Charlotte. And that is face-to-face representation for the city of Springfield.
Yes. But when you go in these conference events, you represent a notebook full of different cities and customers, some I'm sure the same size as ours. So you're not just representing Springfield, you're representing a group of your whole entire portfolio of clients.
Actually, it depends on the conference. It depends on the retailers that are there. If TJ Maxx is there, and TJ Maxx has told me, and this is not, I'm being very generic here. If TJ Maxx is at that conference and TJ Maxx has told me that they're not interested in Springfield, I'm not gonna approach them at that conference and waste their time on Springfield. However, I'm gonna go right to that retailer that is interested in Springfield, and I'm gonna sell Springfield while I've got that face-to-face time. And so we may be there for 2 days, but I can assure you that every single retailer that I've contacted that I think would be a good fit for Springfield, I'm not gonna waste any time making sure that I make a beeline for them. And that's why we do what we do. That's why we're in the business that we're in.
Ms. Holt would like to make a statement.
I'd like to address some of those issues. We have had their services for a year. They are the first ones, and this is the third company we've had over the years. They are the first ones that have actually been in this community a lot. They've talked to the merchants. They have actually taken an interest. They've made suggestions. They did a retail analysis and a gap analysis, which was very helpful to find out the areas of leakage where some of our existing businesses and retailers could take advantage of some of that and perhaps change some of their sales. But in the past, we had, I think, even though the other company may not have communicated very well with us, they did have some results. Harbor Freight, Family Home Furniture, whatever, the Aspen Dental, the Shoe Sensation, all of those came about through retail recruitment that we would not have on our own. So anyway, just wanted you to know this is the first company that's actually taken very much interest and has been here quite a bit and has actually worked with some of our retailers. And so I think they've done a very good job.
Okay. Mr. Harris?
Bojangles part of their recruitment?
I don't think so, because they've been trying to come for a couple of years.
It does state in this, it may not be in the actual language of this contract, but at the bottom under year 2 contract extension, it says it extends your agreement by additional 12 months.
Thank you. Right, and that
may not be written into the language of what you're
probably
asking.
needs to be clarified under the term.
And I'm not sure that there was a signature page on what you're given, but we sign and date. And so if it's 12 months, then it's 12 months from the day that it's signed and dated. It would be signed by the mayor on one day and then by the CEO of our company, hopefully that day, but sometimes it may take a few more days, so it's the date of the last signature.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Did you have another question?
No, I have an amendment to the motion.
Amendment? Okay.
That if we accept this, that it be contingent on getting the language correct, that it is for an additional 12 months.
Mr. Harris.
At least before it's signed.
Mr. Harris has made an amendment to make sure it has the language of 1 year.
And And what I might add is the way the existing one is stated, it says, and continue until completion of services over a period of 12 months.
Correct.
It's just the same language.
I think it's in there, but just we need to make sure that it's in there.
Okay, we have a motion
If we vote to do
made
it.
by Vice Mayor Harris, and we have a second made by Alderman Hubbard. Okay, any more discussion? Ready to vote on the amendment? Okay, hold on. She has to type it. 1 second, please. Okay. Now we're ready to vote. Anyone like to change their vote on the amendment? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. We're back to the main motion as amended. More discussion. Yes, sir, Mr. Sneed.
Statement.
I called on Mr. Sneed, and you'll be next.
Mayor, I can't vote on a contract with a company that's supposed to be representing us when they can't get their own contract in order before they bring it to us. We have spent 16 minutes on this so far. A quarter of the time we've been in this meeting, we've talked about this.
Alderman Hubbard.
I felt the same way, but after hearing that they have really tried, boots on the ground, have showed some response, showed some attention to recruiting stuff for us, so I'll change my mind and give them a second chance.
Okay. Yes, sir, Mr. Harris.
Staff satisfied?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Other questions? No other questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-1.
Thank you. 3.7, discuss and possible take action to approve the emergency purchase of an aerated blower for the wastewater plant. Do we have a motion and a second? Motion made by Alderman Trotter, second by Vice Mayor Harris. Any questions? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.8, discuss and possible take action to approve change order number 1 with Cumberland Valley Contractors, Inc. for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade project in an amount not to exceed $98,500. Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, second by Vice Mayor Harris. Questions? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.9, discuss and possible take action to approve a contract with Gresham Smith for the water line design on William A. Batson Parkway. Do we have a motion and a second? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, second by Alderman Trotter. Questions, Mr. Hubbard?
I am ready to get this ball rolling and over with.
We've talked about this for a long time.
Too long.
Questions? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
3.10, our presentation by the Police Department on the annual crime statistics. I will call on Chief Jason Head. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Give us a brief second to get some technical things set up.
And Mr. Houston is with us. No, Houston's been with us for a number of years.
It's been hid. I've never seen it, sir.
Okay. Thank you for allowing us to do a very brief presentation, and you know, we hear from time to time where we at on statistics, and typically we've been unable to release them this earlier because we usually wait on TBI, and I'll have a little bit of disclaimer in there. We have recently added to addition our software that we use, Southern Software. They picked up the ability for us to do some analytical data a little bit deeper than what we've had to do on our own. So this data is gleaned for us, and we can show that to you tonight finally, and give a little bit quicker update on what is going on out there. You know, we hear rumors, innuendos, and things about what's going on with crime, and we'll let the statistics speak for themselves and what is actually going on. So this is our report to you all. The report includes a detailed list of incidents, adult and juvenile arrests, and citations issued by the Springfield Police Department for the reporting period of 2019. Also include the information on our vehicle crash reports along with statistical data. The department successfully participated in city bicentennial events, reinitiated the Citizens Police Academy, and the department also continued to participate in numerous community events along with all our other enforcement. So briefly, we started the Citizens Police Academy back. We had a very good response out of that. Increased narcotics investigations, arrests and seizures. We'll cover that here in a little bit. DUI enforcement increased over 64% increase of DUI arrests. We'll look at that a little bit more in depth. Supervisor position over sergeant of narcotics. It was a reassignment of an existing position, and we thought that would be a little bit more effective with having a supervisor over that unit. And the position of training officer created a reassignment of an existing position and increased hiring and retention. Right now we have one open patrol position as of this time. So internship program created too. We have an intern that has come on board with us for his semester of this spring. So, and we had recently had a large training for First Amendment. If you remember, so. And acquired emergency rescue vehicle for our Spear team. It is an up-armored vehicle that we were able to get from the state. And we added our new canine, Axel, acquired, trained, and assigned him to patrol operations. So. All right, a little bit of data from 2018 to 2019 on comparison on some things. Calls for service, a little bit uptick, 20,441 to 21,421. Pretty typical of what we've seen on an increase with the growth and the growth in calls for service is obviously going to coincide. Incident reports, we had 2,866 in 2018, 2,717 for 2019. Vehicle crashes, personal injury, had 105 in 2018 and 78 in 2019. Property damage, 811 down to 774. We like to hope that attributes to a little bit of more of the DUI enforcement and obviously having more officers out on the road. Citations, a little bit of an increase, 5,059 to 5,5251, and that also will coincide with having almost being fully staffed and having more officers out on the road. And arrest, little bit of decrease, and that's due to, in fact, I think our enforcement over shoplifting the past few years, a decrease in that and the physical arrests we've had to make. So we went down a little bit, but that's not always a bad thing that you're having to arrest less people. So. And that's custodial arrest. So our narcotics unit, just talk about it a little bit, had 131 drug-related arrests in 2019. 15 search warrants were executed in 2019. Seized $14,474 in currency. Seized 2 vehicles. 14 firearms were seized or recovered, and 2 were reported as stolen out of those seizures. The narcotics, 217 grams of heroin with an estimated street value of $63,320. 53.75 grams of meth, $2,795. 1,139 grams of marijuana, $16,442, 20.4 grams of cocaine, estimated street value of $2,040. And if you'll see the trend, and I know you all follow a lot of the opiates and things that are going on, we've decreased quite a bit in cocaine over the past few years, but it has, you see the increase in the heroin and the methamphetamine. At the very end of 2019, we had the 2 largest heroin busts we've ever had in the city and seized quite a great bit amount of heroin. And as you know, that covers a lot of the opioid epidemic and fentanyl and carfentanyl, which is associated with those. So 46.93 grams of crack cocaine, street value of $46.05. 40 ecstasy pills, estimated value at $400, and 52 various prescription narcotics, estimated at $1,280. Total estimated value of narcotics that were seized is $90,882 for 2019. Okay, note that all this information does not reflect the TBI Tibers report that will come out sometime around April. Their data is not released till then. There may be a slight change in things because of reporting. You may have things that are unfounded. Some things may go up, some things may go a little bit down, but most of the things we're going to show you are going to be we're pretty confident it's going to be fairly accurate by then. So.
Okay.
So, all right, kind of to the meat and potatoes of this. Last year in 2019, for violent crimes, and this is the new software we have attached with our reporting system with Southern Software, we saw a decrease in violent crime, minus 30% last year, almost 31%. That's a tremendous number right there. Robberies were down, rapes were down, ag assaults were down. As you can see for yourself and look at some of those statistics, you know, robbery down 61%. And this is data that you know, we generate, but we don't make these things up, obviously. They're reported to us. And so property crimes, arson was up. We had 2, so got a new fire chief. He'll take care of that, I'm sure. We did drop 31% in overall property crimes too, and that includes things like shoplifting, the robbery, thefts, all those things. So shoplifting was actually down 73. I think we were last year, down 38%. So you know, we started the initiative a few years ago of arresting a lot of shoplifters, and I think we've finally seen the payout out of that a little bit. So. Custodial arresting them. Going on down and so overall property crimes, like we said, we're down 31% as well. Crimes against persons, which is everything, the murder, rape, those things, aggravated assault, simple assault, and those aggravated assault, simple assault include some of the domestics as well. So. Go back where we were. So we were down 7% on those. So moving on to crimes against society, which are our drug equipment violations, drug arrest, and also to include DUI. As you can see, some of the things increased there, which are the arrests with drugs and narcotics violations, and we want those things to go up, obviously. And covered under the DUI, which we talked, last year we went from 106 DUI arrests to 174 in 2019. So that was that 64.15% increase in that, and then the DUI enforcement. Overall, 12% increase in the crimes against society, but again, those are more proactive things that we do. So you want to see the increase in those, not the decrease. Very proud to have that software. It helps us track a little bit and helps us give you all a little bit better explanation and glimpse into what's happening out there. As you can see, things they're doing very good. With our partners, we always like to thank the other city departments that we work with, the Sheriff's Office, E911, THP, Tennessee Highway Patrol, the community and the businesses as well. And very thankful to all their employees, because I don't do this, they do. So I just get to come here and put it together for you.
Thank you. Thank you for all your staff and what they do each and every day for us. If you have to pick up the phone and dial 911, you want somebody there immediately. I have experienced that in my own home, and you don't know how glad you are to see them pull up when you've got someone in your house. And I'm so glad to see the K-9 that's back and trained and out on the road.
Yes, we are too.
Onyx was at my house many years ago. Some in the room will remember Onyx, the dog. So it is we need that. and we thank you for what you're doing for our community. Yes, sir, Mr. Harris.
A question and a comment. Are we going to receive that report?
Yes.
Because I'm getting old, I can't see all the way across there. But my comment is to compliment you, Chief Head. You have done an exceptional job, in my opinion, since you've come on as chief of the police department.
Thank you.
You filled a lot of empty positions that were empty for some period of time. And from everything that I hear, the morale of the police department is better than it's been in a long time. And I think a lot of that is credited to you and to all of your staff.
Thank you. I go back to them. They're the ones that do all the heavy lifting and the hard working, so thank you. I appreciate it. I'll pass it on to them.
Mr. Hubbard?
I'm gonna echo the compliment, but before I left, you know, I was looking at Franklin County, Ohio, the manufactured fentanyl and the ones that come up. We're not seeing too much of that, are we?
As far as
Fentanyl.
the fentanyl, oh, yes, the overdoses.
We're, because they had 28 overdose deaths in about 30 days, so.
We're not hit that hard.
We're not hit that hard.
But we have seen it, especially the north side of Nashville has been hit significantly. I don't know if we'll begin to understand that problem totally. You know, it may take a few years to get everything our head wrapped around just what has happened the past 5 years at least with the opioid epidemic. We still don't know.
So you would solicit the community organizations to talk it up about?
Yes.
You know.
Fentanyl and carfentanil are probably two of the most dangerous things that are out there with narcotics. We cannot reiterate that enough.
Alderman Trotter?
Chief Head allowed me to attend that First Amendment class, and it was very helpful a couple of weeks ago at the
Great.
club. We had some street preachers down there, and I utilized it. Thank you.
Well, and Alderman Trotter has been a state trooper for many years, so thank you. Thank you for attending that class. Anyone on this side of the room have a comment?
I do.
Yes, Ms. Arnold?
I just want to say thank you to yourself, to Houston. I've dealt with both of you personally before, and you have been phenomenally responsive, and not just with the event, but with the follow-up as well, which I think is extremely important and rare to be cared for like that in any community. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I'll thank you for the excellent job you're doing, Chief Head, and all your staff. I would like to ask, I've heard so many comments in the community about the police academy. I have one request, that it not be on Tuesday night, so this group setting up here can attend. I encourage each of you setting it as aldermen to go out and ride with the police officers and see what they do, not just on Memorial Boulevard, of stopping people. You will be amazed what goes on in our town after I go to bed at early hours. They didn't pick me up till it's about time for me to go to bed, so it was a very interesting night and a very eye-opening experience to see what they see each and every night on our streets in Springfield and how well they know our community. And they could call everybody by name. And how many children, unfortunately, when it was pitch dark, that they had to tell, it's time to go home, quit riding your bicycle. That's some of the things that they do each and every day, so thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we have heard that we are going to try to make the Citizens Police Academy on a different night
I'm harassing you.
next fall. And like you said, we encourage any of you all that you want to come ride with, do a ride along with any of the officers, or if you want to come and make arrangements, I'll take you myself, and we'll go out anytime.
And I invite the department heads to do the very same thing. Thank you. We're ready for our consent doc.
Mayor, without objection, I move we take it as one.
Okay.
Second that.
Okay.
Oh, well.
Motion has been made to take the consent doc all together. And we have a second. Motion made by Vice Mayor Harris, seconded by Alderman Hubbard. Okay, we're ready to vote. Anyone like to change their vote? You're ready to record.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Holt, our city manager report.
Well, I don't really have much of a report tonight. We've already covered some of the things I was going to cover, so
Oh, I'm
that's...
sorry.
So that's good, but no, that's good. The only thing I will say is that Mr. Martin and I met with Dr. Trish Holliday again this week, or I think last week, and trying to come up with a final strategic plan, and we will have that probably in a week or two, and we'll get that to you. So that's all I've got.
Thank you. I want to thank all of our department heads for what you do each and every day. Please tell your staff thank you. Our meeting is adjourned.